The thing that I liked most about Michael Jordan as a player was the fact that I didn't have to try to guard him. If you had a poor defensive scheme, he was going to fill the hoop up until you either figured it out or the game was over and you lost the game. Some of his acrobatic drives to the hoop are just remarkable. You know, he can get past the defense and use a little bit of English off of the glass. The ball drops in so nice. It takes some really advanced skills to do that consistently. The 1988 All-Star Game was a showcase for Michael. Michael had figured out all the things he needed to know to be a dominant player. Everything. One-on-one, couldn't guard him. What Michael Jordan showed the whole sports world was the fact that you put the right people with him, he's going to lead them to world championships, without question. He was a prime example of excellence and a leader that would lead you all the way to the top, all the way to the top. That was basketball at its finest.
basketball weaving its way through these quiet winter streets as all the action is inside the raucous Chicago Stadium.
And now,
greetings everyone from Chicago, the host of the 1988 All-Star Game. Alongside the terrific Clark Kellogg and our reporter David Aldridge on the sidelines, I'm Kevin Harlan. And Clark, this terrific city has produced some greats, and 4 of them playing tonight.
You're exactly right, Kevin. The Windy City, Chicago, has produced Mo Cheeks, Isaiah Thomas, Doc Rivers, and Mark Aguirre, all All-Stars. And I'm sure they've got plenty of family and friends in attendance to enjoy their performance on the court.
Yep, so much to celebrate. And Clark, is there a common thread when you think about a Chicago-type player?
Well, I certainly do believe there's a common thread. When playing outside or outdoors in the Windy City, the perimeter shot can easily get blown off course. So you got to be able to get that thing to the rack and in a straight line fashion. And that's something all Chicago players share in common.
A lot of high flyers, you're right. And your West All-Stars, Matt Lever and Magic Johnson, the guards, Alex English and Karl Malone at the forward spots, and in the middle, Hakeem Olajuwon. For the East, it's Moses Malone inside, and Dominique Wilkins with Larry Bird, the forwards. And in the backcourt, Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan.
And you look at Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, rivals since college. Early on, no love lost between them, but over time, they've become friends.
Basket good. And tonight's All-Star MVP will have a $5,000 check presented in their name, Clark, to the Thurgood Marshall Black Education Fund.
A great cause in honor of a terrific American. When it comes to distributing the ball, nobody does it better than Magic. When one of his guys has a clean look, the ball is there quickly and on target.
You see Larry and Magic together in those Converse ads, they've become really the faces of the NBA.
And Kevin, I think they've inherited the mantle from the great Dr. J. He's done such a great job representing the league all these years, and certainly he's left it in good hands with those two.
Yeah, that's a great comparison. And so just over a minute and a half played, and the Eastern All-Stars favored to win tonight.
Star power and firepower. Veteran IQ and smarts, but you never know. The West has quite a bit of talent too.
Indeed they do. There's the pass to English. They shoot again, and they convert at last on attempt number 3. English has got his second basket. Bird, the pass to Malone. And we're going to have a jump ball. It's tied up there.
held ball violation. It'll be a jump ball.
And the West All-Stars have possession. Now the West with the ball. And Michael Jordan winning the dunk contest yesterday. Clark, can he add to his trophy case tonight?
Kevin, I think his teammates want to see him win the MVP. I think they're going to give him as many touches as he needs to have a chance to do it.
Ooh, that'll be fun to watch. Clark, and amidst this All-Star celebration, labor negotiations between the players and the NBA continue.
Trying to find their way through this current impasse, Kevin, and looking to avoid any interruptions to this game that we all have a love affair with.
Yeah, I know you and I hope they can find some common ground.
Please make it happen soon.
Olajuwon with incredible footwork for a big man.
How about this list? Players who have never missed an All-Star game in their careers. Jerry West, Bob Pettit, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, and Hakeem Olajuwon. Those last three playing here tonight.
And plenty of subplots to this game. For more, let's send it over to David Aldridge. DA, take it away.
Thanks very much. Now, this story has never gone away over the years, guys. Isaiah Thomas is, of course, a native Chicagoan, but you'll still hear some boos today from Bulls fans. That's because at that All-Star game a couple of years ago, people questioned whether Isaiah froze out Michael Jordan. And some people still believe it. Guys, back to you.
Yeah, that story has not gone away. Thank you, David. For what it's worth, Clark, Isaiah Thomas denies there was a freeze-out, and Jordan himself says, I never said it, so what do you think?
But the reality is, we probably never will know the full story.
And Michael Jordan won the dunk contest last night, and man, was it great. What a thriller. He and Dominique Clark put on a great show, and you could tell they both wanted it so badly. Perhaps the home court advantage gave Michael Jordan Clark the edge.
And there was another winner from last night, and that was Larry Bird, taking home the trophy in the three-point shootout. And he didn't even need to take off his warm-ups to handle his business.
Clark, somebody told me he looked at the rest of the competitors and said, okay, who's going to be in second place here? Who's going to finish behind me?
Sounds just like him.
Hey, Clark, the record for points in the All-Star game is 42, set by Wilt Chamberlain back in the 1962 All-Star game.
And you know, a lot of Wilt's records seem virtually untouchable, but I don't think that one is. With all these great scores, who knows? It might be broken tonight.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Here's what the East is going with right now. Ewing comes in for Moses Malone, and it's Rivers in for Thomas. James Worthy's checked in for the West. Drexler comes in for Johnson.
Fat Lever is not the biggest guard, but he makes big impact on the game because he plays with such intensity at both ends of the floor.
Catching up on the changes for the East. Doherty's checked in for Bird, and Danny Ainge has subbed in for Wilkins. Abdul-Jabbar's checked in for the West. Lever against Rivers. The putback. Clark wide open, high scoring both ways.
These tremendous All-Stars are putting on a tremendous show, Kevin.
What a blast. And the whistle blows. It's going to be on Hakeem Olajuwon. That's his first foul.
Personal foul. First team foul.
Here's Jordan. Good, and it's Ewing with the assist that time. Jordan's got 10 points. And if there was a snub, Clark, for this year's All-Star game, many felt it was the sharpshooter Dale Ellis of the Sonics.
Well, you take a look at what he's done. He's the only top 10 scorer in the NBA who was not an All-Star.
The Tennessee Volunteers should be here. Michael Jordan getting it done for the East All-Stars. He got into double digits for the quarter with 10 points total. Back right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the 1988 All-Star Game here in Chicago. As these great fans hope Michael Jordan can bring home the win and the MVP hardware. And so Jordan will bring it up for the East All-Stars. On the floor for the West All-Stars, they've got Olajuwon. Abdul-Jabbar is out there with Worthy. Then it's Lever. And it's Drexler in at the 2 spot.
And the head coach of the East, Mike Fratello, his first time coaching in the All-Star game. Well, you know, stopping him is never easy to do, but the defense was strong there.
That puts them in the lead. Jordan's got the lead up to 2 now for the East All-Stars. Lever kicks it over to Worthy. Shot from 12. No good that time, so the East All-Stars will take it the other way. How about that? Mike's a terrific friend of yours and mine, and Fratello's Hawks recently moved into first place in the East after the Cavs beat the Celtics. Clark enabling him to become the coach.
Surprised that the Cavs' Brad Doherty gets extended minutes in his first All-Star appearance. You scratch my back, I scratch yours.
And here early, Clark, the East has the edge.
You look at that team on the East squad, an embarrassment of riches, Kevin, and, you know, they've got so many weapons. I think it simply comes down to execution for them.
And Kareem, the elder statesman, 19 years in the NBA, decades of dominance. That doesn't go either for Jordan. Worthy down low. Doherty defending. That's good from Worthy on the assist by Lever. Well, Clark, there was some question whether James Worthy would actually play in this All-Star game.
Yeah, he's dealing with some tendonitis in his knee, and because of that, I think his minutes very well could be limited.
Yeah, he's got to pay attention to the big picture, doesn't he?
Yep.
And Kareem looking to set the career record for all-star scoring. Isn't that something?
It really is. Needs just 10 points to do it, Kevin, and you got to love his chances. I mean, that's a layup for him, pun intended.
Second personal foul.
Good one. The East All-Stars shooting their first free throws of the game.
Big fella is a polished offensive player. Doherty can do more than just get buckets. I mean, he's a willing passer. And I think he's great at setting up his teammates out of the post.
Catching up on the changes for the East. Bird, he's checked in for Ewing. Wilkins comes in for Danny Ainge. And Thomas subbed in for Doc Rivers. And it's the East All-Stars with the ball. The West All-Stars getting their last shot to go.
Hard not to respect how tough Jordan is inside. Really good at angling his body to pick up the foul call.
Second
And Coach Mike Fratello, a colleague of ours, coaching in the All-Star game, standing tall amongst a bunch of tall guys in the NBA. You know, his dad was an amateur boxer, and, you know, I think that background gives Mike a lot of confidence as a coach.
And the East All-Stars making a change here. Malone's checked in. Quarter two and just under 2.5 minutes gone by. Pass to Donaldson. That doesn't go in. Had a chance, though, to take the lead. And Clark, not easy for these coaches to put their stamp on the game. Only a 1-hour practice yesterday to get acquainted and move through some sets.
And, you know, Kevin, it's not about necessarily practice time. A few offensive sets is all that's needed. I think it's how you manage the players and give them a platform to have fun and do what they do.
That's a good point. Here's Malone. Isaiah Thomas picking up that last basket.
He did everything in his power to make that a difficult shot.
Here's Jordan. And he comes up with the deuce. Jordan's got 9 points in the quarter. And starting last season, Clark, Michael Jordan's scoring went through the roof.
Averaging over 37 points per game, partner, and he's kept close to that pace this season as well.
Amazing and remarkable, right? Wow.
And, you know, so far I like the effort from both teams. It's an exhibition, but each team showing great pride. They're getting after it.
And Jordan gets it to go. And Michael Jordan, not only last season's leading scorer by a mile, but Clark Kellogg this season, he is in the running for the Defensive Player of the Year.
He is the true definition of a two-way player. Gets it done at a high level at both ends.
And almost 4 minutes gone here in the second quarter of play. He hits the back iron and sinks the shot. And it's a 7-point East All-Star lead. And Clark, so much talent for each side, but they got to develop that chemistry on the fly, don't they?
Exactly, and that's what the coaches will be looking for down the stretch. Which group of players really complement one another and give you the best chance to win?
The East leading by 5. Jordan outside. Michael Jordan showing the explosiveness that won him the dunk contest last night.
Another big night for Jordan. What a natural scorer he is. MJ simply can do it all.
Magic Johnson delivers passes with such pinpoint accuracy. Wow! And Clark, with his strength and quickness, Xavier McDaniel, a very tough guy to cover.
Well, he's versatile. You talk about that strength and athleticism. 92% of the time in his career, he scored in double figures. Very consistent.
My goodness. Johnson, the pass to Donaldson. Thomas dishes to Bird. Good ball movement here by the East. Here's Jordan. And he drops in the layup off the glass. Jordan's got the lead up to 9 now for the East All-Stars.
And Jordan is simply amazing at finishing through contact. Doesn't matter what you throw at him or who, he finds a way to score.
Drexler outside. And it's off from three-point range. The vision of Larry Bird is not to be overlooked.
Boy, what a ruthless, wicked dribble move that time by Jordan. Threw his defender off and got the space he needed to fire.
Another spoon-fed basket for Magic.
And the 6'9" forward, Karl Malone out of Louisiana Tech, playing for the Utah Jazz. Tonight, he's wearing number 7 to honor the great Pete Maravich, who himself was a 3-time All-Star with the New Orleans Jazz.
And so that brings the first half to a close. East All-Stars lead by 9. And we've got more NBA action on 2K Sports coming your way after this break. And we welcome you back to the second half of the 1988 All-Star Game here in Chicago. Great performances from these players, whether it's their first time participating or their 17th. And the East has possession.
You know, you get into the latter stages of the game, and it's normal to wonder who will take home the MVP trophy. It's certainly one of those accolades that's mentioned when you talk about the great ones.
We've got Bird. Jordan is up there with Thomas. Then there's Moses Malone. That's Wilkins in at the 3. That's the group for Mike Fratello getting going here in the second half.
We all know about Michael's offensive prowess, okay? But he's incredible defensively as well. He works hard at that end, and that's rare for a star.
And of the players in tonight's All-Star Game, Clark, 2 have won MVP trophies in this game before. Larry Bird and Isaiah Thomas.
And how about this, Kevin? Thomas has won 2 out of the last 4 years. If he was to get 3 MVPs, that would put him in some rarefied air, tying with Oscar Robertson for second most. Bob Pettit is the only player to do it 4 times.
And Clark, when you look at Hakeem Olajuwon's Houston Rockets, here is a team making a lot of moves.
I tell you what, their trade for Joe Barry Carroll and Sleepy Floyd paying huge dividends. They're certainly on the rise in my mind.
Yeah, a lot of people like those moves. And the East with the lead.
Living up to that favored and top billing and giving these fans quite a show. That was really pretty good effort by the defense, but Olajuwon is just too much of a force down low.
No good from Jordan.
Well, you know, this is what happens. You can't afford to lose concentration even for a nanosecond. You know, people said Alex English was too light of frame, too skinny, not athletic enough. Well, how about this? He's playing in his 7th straight All-Star game. So much for being too skinny.
And Lever has it in the corner. And it's Olajuwon with the jam.
Oh, the strength and power right there. Huge alley-oop finish by the Dream. Fantastic.
Here's Jordan. That's in there. Thomas with the assist. Thomas got 9 assists in the game. Great passing. The West trails by 8.
You know, there's been talk about adding a 3rd referee to NBA games. The commissioner and the rules committee are in favor of it, and they plan to put it before the Board of Governors at the next meeting. That's what this team needs right now.
You're right, cutting the deficit with the one-handed flush. And the East All-Stars decide to take their first time out here. And Clark, with 3 officials working games, do you think that'll result in more fouls being called, more eyes on the ball? They can pick up a lot more, certainly, with more guys out there.
Yeah, you know, I I think, Kevin, it might be the case early on with the third official, but over time it'll smooth itself out. Off the ball, you know, some things you could get away with in the past, maybe not so much with three officials out there.
And for a report on the center position, we take you over to David Aldridge.
Thank you, Kevin. Now, one of the big stories this weekend is the matchup of Moses Malone and Hakeem Olajuwon. Of course, Moses helped Hakeem a lot when he was starting in the game. He worked with him down in Houston in the summertime on low post moves and how to really rebound the basketball. Now we see the torch being passed from one of the all-time greats to a future all-time great. Kevin, back to you.
That's a good story, D.A., and there is that handoff, which is so historic to watch. Hakeem Olajuwon, by the way, Clark, got the third most All-Star votes this year.
Which indicates how much the fans are beginning to recognize and appreciate his excellence. There's a reason that Olajuwon was drafted ahead of Michael Jordan. He's got a lot of game and clearly on his way to being one of the all-time greats. And in this day and age, you've got to have a dominant center to be able to compete for championships.
He is indeed a very special player. You're right.
And, you know, most of these guys are accustomed to having their team's offense built around them. It's an adjustment for them now to figure out who's going to get the rock most of the time.
Here's Jordan. And it's a new single-game record in scoring for the All-Star Game, set right in front of us by Michael Jordan.
What an incredible athlete, Kevin, and it seems whatever he sets his mind to do, he can do it. Impressive.
And the West All-Stars have possession. Following the basket by Michael Jordan. Count that one, and the East All-Stars lead has been cut down now to just 2 on the basket from Malone. Clark, how about the unselfishness of this team?
Love the willingness to make that extra pass, and it has the defense in the scramble mode. And Dominique Wilkins is the go-to scorer for the Hawks, no question about that. And he's embraced that leadership role as well. Obviously a huge part of the Hawks' success.
Now here's Malone. He's got 12. And now here's Rivers, the fast break opportunity. Pulls up on the wing. Here's Ewing. The size and aggression of Patrick Ewing inside.
And with Patrick Ewing leading the way, the New York Knicks finally competitive again. The big man has quickly found a rapport with rookie point guard Mark Jackson. They are a team on the rise. Book that. Hey, it's inexcusable not putting a body on Hakeem. I mean, you deserve to get cooked when you don't do that.
A shot by Jordan, no good.
Boy, he's got to be kicking himself for failing to make that shot. That's money.
Magic in his element, pushing the pace. And Magic Johnson, Clark, made it clear coming into this game that he wanted the challenge of defending the great Michael Jordan.
He certainly did, and the West as a team will certainly have their work cut out for him trying to slow that guy down.
That is going to be fun to watch. Michael Jordan getting it done for the East All-Stars. This has been a remarkable game for him offensively. Anytime you get over the 40-point mark, it's been a special, special day. We'll return shortly. Welcome back to Chicago for the 1988 All-Star Game. The grand finale of what's been a tremendous weekend to celebrate the NBA. And so here are the West All-Stars. They trail by 3.
You take a look at the landscape of the NBA, and I tell you what, that Central Division, dominant. How about this? 36 games above 500 combined.
On the floor for the West All-Stars, Abdul-Jabbar is out there with Olajuwon. Then it's Lever. Then there's English. And it's Johnson in at the point guard position. Here's Lever. And it's the East with the rebound. They've held a 12-point lead earlier. Well, you look at that Central Division, all 6 teams on pace to make the playoffs.
And, you know, Chicago got off to that great start, Kevin. Then they cooled off just a bit. Now tied with Detroit at 3 games behind Atlanta. Those teams are graped up pretty good.
Down the stretch here, the East, Clark, out in front.
Getting it done. It's been such a fun game to watch. entertaining from both sides.
Woo, it sure has been. Johnson finds Olajuwon. That's good, and Johnson with the assist. And it's now 22 points for Hakeem Olajuwon.
Boy, it's been attack after attack from Hakeem in this one. He's not giving the defense any breaks.
Timeout called, East All-Stars. Malone's checked in for the East. Then for the West All-Stars, Worthy comes in for Olajuwon. And Clyde Drexler has subbed in for Lever. Pass to Ainge. Over Drexler. Here's McHale. It's good from inside. And the East leads by 5.
This is the 4th All-Star game for the Celtics, Kevin McHale. Kids at home who want to learn how to score in the post, just put your isolated camera on Kevin McHale, please. Moves on top of moves in the paint. And after the Central Division, the Midwest has been the 2nd most competitive division. Those teams are sitting at 10 games over 500.
Malone, good. And Moses Malone Clark, the wily veteran for the Washington Bullets.
And you know, Kevin, his coach Wes Unseld says Malone has really added a level of aggressiveness to the Washington Bullets.
And he brings Clark a championship pedigree to the team.
No doubt.
Worthy can't hit. And Clark in the Midwest, those Rockets are really making a push.
And they're doing it behind Hakeem Olajuwon. To me, he's the best center in the NBA. They certainly got a chance to give the Lakers a run for their money.
Oh, yeah. Drexler inside. He's against McHale. And if there's a rival for the size and athleticism of Michael Jordan Clark, it might just be Clyde Drexler.
I don't think there's any question about it, Kevin. The Phi Slamma Jamma alum can take flight with the very best of them.
Yep, great athletes. And Kareem will need to get it going, Clark, to reach double digits.
I think his teammates have to do a better job of getting him touches. Just keep feeding him. He's more than capable of getting there.
Thomas, that's good.
Isaiah Thomas, not a guy to back down from the moment. Great competitive spirit and able to produce in the clutch.
Timeout called here by the East. They're going to talk it over.
That was a good time to call the timeout to try to settle everybody down and get back into their offensive rhythm. They've been coughing up the rock an awful lot.
Bird, he's checked in for the East. Wilkins comes in for Ainge. Then for the West All-Stars, Olajuwon comes in for Abdul-Jabbar. And Karl Malone subbed in for James Worthy.
Now, there's an example of good defense beating good offense.
Good ball movement here by the East. Here's Thomas. Bird passes to Wilkins. And he uses the glass on the layup. And now a 7-point East All-Star lead.
Boy, I tell you what, Wilkins is athletic and cut up. Just bouncing off the contact and scoring with that weight room strength.
Timeout called here. The West All-Stars decide to talk it over. They're down by 7. 1:36 left in the 4th. Johnson, the pass to Malone. The West again cannot hit.
Clearly the defense could have been better there, guys, but he also needs to convert that.
Wilkins dishes to Bird. The shot's good on the assist from Wilkins. And the East leads by 9. And Larry Bird winning 3 straight MVP awards from 1983 to 1986.
You know who the last player was to do that?
I'm going back to the 60-something. You tell me.
Yeah.
I know you
Bill
know.
Russell.
Yeah, right.
It's Bill Russell, 1960 to 63.
Of course. I'm glad we bring him up. A legend.
Yep. You know, this is why Jordan is such an effective scorer. Picks his spots really well inside.
6 feet out. And it's Malone missing. One more shot might be all it takes here.
Exactly. That might be the final nail, so to speak.
No good there. And the West will go the other way now. English on the wing. He's defended by Wilkins. And there's the call on Michael Jordan. That'll be his second foul of the game. So an almost entirely new group now for the West. Hamilton, he's checked in for Olajuwon. Worthy comes in for Malone. McDaniels checked in for English. And Aguirre's subbed in for Clyde Drexler.
And the Mavericks, Mark Aguirre, actually got married last night. A about that? A big weekend for the DePaul product. Jordan, so sweet to watch in the air. What a treat.
And here is Johnson.
Pretty easy to say, this game out of reach now.
It's good from long range. And the 6'8" forward from the Seattle Supersonics, Xavier McDaniel.
Now in year 3, he's got to be excited, making his very first All-Star appearance.
Strong player from Wichita State and taken away by Johnson. Timeout called here. The West All-Stars decide to talk it over. They're trailing by 6. 16 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Guys, your thoughts?
Look, the game's not quite done yet, but they need points right away.
Timeout, West.
And here's Malone. He'll bring it up for the West All-Stars. 6-point game.
3.
And Fat Lever snubbed a year ago, now a first-time All-Star, well-deserved. He leads the league in triple-doubles, one of the original stat sheet stuffers, averaging 9 rebounds a game as well. Best by a mile for NBA guard. You know, Thomas plays the game with such an edge and attitude and great confidence, and I think that gives him an edge out there on the court. He's always willing to go the extra mile.
Timeout called here. The West All-Stars decide to talk it over. They trailed by 5. We've got 13 seconds left to play here in the fourth. What do you think, guys?
Boy, an uphill battle for him. Everything has to go perfectly.
There's Lever with the 3. The rebound by Jordan. And so they choose to intentionally foul.
Magic Johnson.
First free throw is good, and that increases their lead to 6. So he goes 2 for 2 at the line, and it's a 7-point game. English outside. And here's Johnson outside. Misses there. And the Eastern All-Stars deliver. The favorites coming in. Clark, they did not disappoint.
Yeah, you looked at that team on paper and you saw they were the stronger team and should have been favored. But you still got to go out and prove it. And they did exactly that.
And so much scoring in that lineup for the East. My goodness, look at those names. That's always going to be tough to stop.
And you factor in the raucous crowd cheering on Michael Jordan, Kevin. No wonder they found that extra gear they needed when it was time to get it done.
That's a good point. This is Kevin Harlan saying thank you for watching. We'll see you later.